Is everybody ready?
Coach, right here on your left in the front row.
Well, I'm going to say a couple of words first. I just want to make sure everybody had their electronics. For me, this is my first media event since 2009. So, as you can understand, the last time I did this, I was the head coach at Cincinnati, and we were in the Big East. And I think we had Greg Schiano was the head coach at Rutgers, and he still is, it seems. But to be back at Media Day for me is kind of gets you thinking about the football season. So excited about this season with LSU football. Certainly, our football team in itself. I've gotten a chance to spend some time with our team, so I'll answer as many questions as I can about our guys. But it's been a lot of recruiting, a lot of time building our roster. But for me, being here, getting an opportunity to talk about our team, talk about the process that we've had over the last 7 months, excited to do that.
Front row on your left, Coach.
Hey, Coach. AP Stedham, WHEP, Foley, Alabama.
Yep, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Coach. Coach, what did you learn about your team this spring, and what's the identity that you seek from this team?
Yeah, I think we learned a little bit about our team in the spring, but I think what I think more than anything else is just since January up till today, they have done everything we've asked them to do. It's not been easy, to get them to think the right way, the right habits of winners. Clearly, it had slipped a little bit, and to on a day-to-day basis to be forced to have a standard that they weren't clearly used to is difficult. And I am so proud of the way that they have been sticking to that standard on a day-to-day basis. It tells me that this group will fight hard for 4 quarters. And as a football coach, that feels pretty good.
Coach on your left, fourth row.
Hey, Coach. Jordy Collada from WAFB. Can you explain the challenges of roster management and rebuilding of what you took on from December up until this point?
How long do you have?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, so you need to attack every situation a little bit differently. Every job that I've had has had different unique situations. This one was unique. It was one that we needed to address immediately with experienced players. And so we were intentional about the transfer portal in that we didn't want to bring in guys that would create more issues. We wanted guys that had, first of all, a love for LSU. And so we attracted a lot of guys that were originally from the state of Louisiana and had a passion for wanting to play at LSU. The second thing is we wanted SEC players if we could get them. If not, they needed to be the very best at their level. And so they were all Americans or they were the best at that position. And then I think the third thing is that they immediately had to have the traits that we were looking for. They had to be guys that when we talked to their coaches that were the best character traits, attention to detail, all those things. That was first. Second, do a great job of recruiting freshmen in a very, very short period of time with an eye towards specific needs by position. And don't create any more open, wasted opportunities at position groups. Guys that are going to be in the program for the 4 years. We had too much attrition, and a lot of that was based upon poor academics. So we wanted strong students. That was first and foremost. Then develop the players that we had on campus. And that's kind of what we've been doing since we got there.
Second row, Jacques.
Hey, Coach. Jacques Doucet, WAPTV in Baton Rouge. Since you took the job, what have you learned about LSU? What have you learned about maybe the fans, the job that maybe you didn't know before?
I think each fan base is passionate in their own way. I don't know that anybody's patient today. I don't know that you need to be patient as much as I do believe that LSU fans know what good football is. And talking to many fans and former alums, put out a good football team, a disciplined football team that plays hard for 4 quarters. And if you're short in some particular areas, go recruit. And recruit the state of Louisiana. But at least know, if you don't take them from Louisiana, you know who they are, right? And because people talk about locking down the state of Louisiana. Let's face it, you're not going to lock down the state of Louisiana. But you better know where the players are in Louisiana. And they're not just from New Orleans and Baton Rouge. They're from Shreveport. They're from Hammond. They're from Monroe. You better get around the entire state. I think I've learned that a little bit, that an LSU fan wants to win every game. But they want a good football team that plays hard, that competes for 4 quarters, and they want you to know if there's a good player in the state of Louisiana. You may not take him, but you better know where he is.
Coach, on your right, back row.
Coach Rob Brown, Sideline Sports Radio and Podcast in Memphis. Brian, Miles Brennan's been in the LSU program for a long time, and that kid loves LSU. How important is he going to be to you in your quarterback room? And also, welcome to the SEC. I followed you a long time, and there's another guy from Boston, Bruce Pearl. It's worked out well for him. So
not too bad.
Here.
Not too bad for Bruce, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, Miles Brennan is, gosh, I mean, it was like the question I had about B.J. Ojolari. I mean, I could talk to you more about the character of B.J. than I could talk to you about his pass rush, because I've seen him only a couple of times pass rush somebody, but I've seen his character every day. It's the same thing with Miles. I mean, I haven't seen him play much football, but I can tell you how he leads. He's instrumental in what we're doing. In this transition year where you need people to be models in terms of how you want things done, he's impacting this football team. As much as he wants to be the starting quarterback, and I hope he is, I would love to see him be the starting quarterback. He has impacted this football program just because he's been in it because of his leadership.
On your right, Coach, 4th row. There you go.
Gracie Barra, WCBI TV. What do you think all this realignment that's occurred over the last 12 months means for the future of college football?
Well, I mean, I think it seems as though there's going to be, super conferences, and there's going to be some that when the music stops, there's not enough chairs for everybody. And, was that Premier Soccer? Is that regulated? I mean, some schools are going to be in limbo from that perspective. So, look, I'm not smart enough to figure out all the, schools that need to make moves and do things necessary to improve their lot. But the reality of it is there's not a whole lot more out there that are going to be selected, but there's going to be a few more, and then the rest kind of takes shape from there. But it's the reality of college football.
To your left, Coach, 2nd row.
Michael Cobble, WBRZ TV in Baton Rouge.
I've heard of you.
The day we talked, when you got hired, you said one of your strengths was to fix football. I'm curious, now that you've been in it for a while and seen the weeds, how far along on your checklist are you? And then what are your realistic or expected goals maybe for this season?
Well, fixing football is relative to the X's and the O's and maybe how we're going about things relative to how we should play based upon our strengths and weaknesses. So that's kind of a fluid situation that needs to be fixed like weekly, daily when we get into it. The goals of this football team was to change the way they think about themselves and their habits, habits towards being champions, and really pleased with that. The last part was training this football team for the season and training them intentionally in a manner that allows us to play our best football in November and December. I don't want a football team that's tired, that has camp legs when they open up against Florida State, but I want a team that's conditioned appropriately to play in 100-degree temperatures that we're going to get when we play Southern. So, that all has to come into the checklist for me as the most important things right now.
To your right, Coach, of the 4th row.
Hey, Coach, Jesse Symington, On Three. You mentioned earlier today about how trust is a two-way street, and that was kind of in terms of you and the players and being a new coach at a new program. In a similar vein, how do you kind of build that with a fan base that does kind of come with so much expectations and the noise that kind of came with your hire? What have you kind of done in the last 7 months to kind of build that trust, and what does that look like maybe a year from now as well?
You know, I think the 23 class is a transition class for us that we started a little bit late, but I think we've made some great progress. I think trusting that we're going to recruit really well in 23, 24, and 25. I think you start there that, okay, they're going to recruit well, and I think you start with that. So they can start to look at this football team is going to bring in an influx of talented players. Then I think the next thing is the eye test is really important in year one. You've got to be able to look at the football team that we're putting on the field in year one with a number of different moving parts. Other words, freshmen that are going to have to play, transfers, and look at it and say, wow, this team is well coached, it's disciplined, it plays for 4 quarters. They may be a little bit short here, they may be a little bit inexperienced here, but wow, is this going to be a good football team? So we've got to pass the eye test because Louisiana State University fans are like many others. They're smart. They know what good football looks like. If we go out there and we're sloppy and we're disconnected and we're not well coached, then we get what we deserve.
2 final questions. First, front row, Ed.
Yes, Brian. Ed Daniels, WGNO New Orleans. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Coach, couple of things. Is it important going into the Florida State game to keep the opponent guessing as to who would be under center? And 2, now that you've been here for several months, do you think it's going to take that long? Do you have any has your time on how long it's going to take to get where I want to be, has that changed at all now that you've gotten to see everything?
I would say this, I don't think that there's a huge tactical advantage going into the Florida State game relative to who the quarterback is. Are we going to announce the quarterback, after, 3 days? Probably not. So I think we're going to be late into camp before we make any announcements anyway. So I really don't think that that's going to be a tactical advantage. I'll get a better sense as we get deeper into camp, and if you pose that question again to me, maybe a week or 2 into camp, I could probably give you a better sense, because spring is too difficult to give you a sense of where we're at. I know where our weaknesses are, and we went into the summer addressing those weaknesses. I'll see if we're better at those weaknesses, and then I can give you an accurate description of where we're at.
Final question, back row on the right.
Hey, Brian. Jacob Goins, ESPN 106.7 in Auburn. You're coming from Notre Dame, who has a rich history in college football, to LSU, who has rich history in college football. How do you plan on embracing that in Baton Rouge at LSU?
Be part of the community. I've embraced that. I bought a home less than a mile from campus. I just think that, anytime that I've moved into a particular community, it's embracing the community, the culture, and I think that that's the way, you have to settle into any college, university setting. Be part of the community and embrace it accordingly. And I think that that's what I've done. This isn't a pit stop for me. This is my last stop. So I think just for me, more than anything else, opened my eyes to so many different things that I have never done before. Backwater fishing down in Port Fourchon was awesome. Never done that before. Actually caught some fish for the first time in a long time. I didn't think I ever could catch a fish. But come to Louisiana, they jump in your boat. I mean, it's beautiful. So just embracing the culture and being part of the state of Louisiana.
Thank you, Coach. Good job.
Awesome. Thank you.